Hello and welcome to the Blizzard Watch podcast. It's our usual gang and also a special guest star. This week it's Corey. Say hi, Corey.
Hi, Corey. Hey, I thought I was above special guest star now.
No, we haven't become recurring yet. You're getting there though. One more podcast, and you'll basically start a storyline where you get involved in like weird black magic somewhere, and Joe has to save you, and that's how he recruits you to the team. And then in like the next season, who knows? I'm not sure. Maybe maybe I get killed.
You're a very special guest, Corey. You have a special place in our heart.
You're specifically a special guest, Corey. We've emulated it. We have other Corys, but you're the best one. Regardless, however, in addition to Corey, who has now told us that he wants to be promoted to main cast member, we have our usual recurring hosts, myself, not unimportant, and both Joe and Liz are here. And if you ever listen to the show and you want to hear our pre-shows, this week's pre-show harkens back to the early days of Lore Watch, because Liz and I basically got into a huge lore argument. Granted, it's about Dragon Age, but we did get into a huge lore argument. So it's fascinating to me that it felt very early Lore Watch. So yeah, give that a listen. If you can listen to our pre-show, you definitely should.
If you subscribe to the Patreon, you get access to the unedited version of the podcast, complete with pre-show, and that support helps us produce this show as well as many others. You're going to hear about that because I think Liz has some things to say about that.
I was about to segue to her, so yeah, Liz, please.
Hello, as Joe and Matt have both said, this show and all of the Blizzard Watch site is here because of listeners like you. Our Patreon is currently a little lower than we'd like. It's at $3,900. We like to keep it above $4,000 so that we can produce all of the content you love. So if you are able to support us, that helps us out. It helps us keep the show going. It helps us keep the site going. It lets us create the content that I hope you love, hopefully.
Love us.
And
We've got data. We know you love us.
We're writers, so we are always kind of desperate for affection.
I want you to think of if you've seen Shrek or the Puss in Boots movies, I want you to imagine the little orange cat with his eyes all huge. I have that cat in my house, and he will do that if you make me. I will put him on camera, and he will give you the giant eyes and be like, "Daddy, please put me down." And I will not put him down until such time as you get us up there. So you don't want that. You don't want a sad cat. Come on.
So I did mention this last podcast, and a few people have jumped up to help us out. I want to thank all of you right now. Metal Zani, I'm probably not saying your name right. I'm sorry. Pledged at $10 a month. Tony pledged at $10 a month. Richard upgraded to $10 a month. That $10 you get a very cool Discord perk in that you can see our editorial chat, which is sometimes informative, sometimes just weird. You never know. Joe pledged at $5 and Clay pledged at $1. And I know it maybe sounds like $1 is not very much, but it's a lot of small supporters that make all of this possible. And you let us do these podcasts. We are currently working on some projects that your support helps us do. We're in the middle of trying to launch a redesigned website. We're still, this is early days, but we're looking to launch it before our 10th anniversary next year.
Hold on, I must now turn it to dust.
Yeah, I know. I know. Every time I mention a major anniversary, it's kind of like, oh. And that will hopefully help you find things on the site more easily. It will help you find the best content on the site, which I think kind of gets lost, because if it was posted 2 days ago, who knows where it is anymore? That was a year ago. We are also working on spinning Tavern Watch off into its own podcast. That's our tabletop gaming podcast. I hope that will happen by the end of November. And I know some of you really enjoy that kind of stuff. And some of you maybe don't enjoy that kind of stuff. It's been going out on our main feeds. We're going to put that off on its own thing, so you can subscribe just to see that. And when we do that, we are going to have weekly games for you that I think are very cool. We have recorded several games. I think they're very exciting, and I can't wait for you to hear them. But if you can support us, and I understand if you can't, but if you can, please help us out. Patreon.com/BlizzardWatch. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, both Joe and Liz there. So we get that, we definitely want the support. We want to get above 4,000 so we can keep doing all this great stuff that we do. And more importantly, so that we can eat. Because if we're never eating, it's definitely hard to do the show without eating. I mean, seriously, you may think if they don't even eat food on the show. Yes, but we do before and after, and it's very important.
I do have a cookie sitting in front of me, and I'm taking bites of it in between this conversation.
Yeah, are we not eating right now? No one told me I wasn't supposed to eat right now.
It's not the question of you being supposed to do anything. It's just,
you just have to mute yourself. No crunching noises on air.
However, we do have a lot of stuff to talk about this week.
There is so much.
I don't know if you guys were aware that they did a Warcraft Direct last week.
I might have heard something about it.
Yeah. In addition to the Warcraft Direct, they also did news in other places as well. There were other things that happened that weren't even mentioned in the Direct. So, yeah, a lot of stuff. Quite frankly, I'm just going to try and hit notes and let the other three people here provide stuff like context and detail. But since Corey is here, one of the things we like to do with Corey is basically make him talk about Warcraft Rumble so we don't have to.
Look, I understand my place in the team is the guy that holds on too hard to some of the games that Blizzard doesn't seem to hold on quite as hard to.
Yeah.
And I've accepted that.
I do also think I'm going to bring Corey in on Hearthstone stuff. I don't necessarily know that you played Hearthstone, but I think the last Hearthstone news we have is kind of important for the thing you do play. So, yeah, but first, Warcraft Rumble. Rumble is coming to PC. And the headline of the article we posted on it talked about its grindiness, so I immediately put that in the reference.
That's because I wrote it.
Yeah, I know.
This is what happens when you let me write the Warcraft Rumble content instead of showing up to write it yourself, Corey.
Oh, I was at my day job,
Yeah, I know.
Eat food. Again, it all comes back to food.
I do like food.
Corey, talk to me about Rumble going to PC. Why is this important? Why do people care? Why are they even doing it?
It's basically the only thing I would say that the majority of people seemed to care about with Rumble is that on every social media post, at least half or 2/3 of the responses were PC when, computer when. And it's just people play Blizzard games mostly on their computer, and therefore it makes sense to have their game of choice be on their platform of choice.
And one thing is, Blizzard is primarily a PC game company. PC and console. They've been doing more and more console games. Not all of their titles are on console, but primarily PC. And they've done 2 mobile games that were mobile first. That's Diablo Immortal and Warcraft Rumble. And neither of those got a great response from kind of the traditional Blizzard crowd. And I think a lot of that was because it's not on PC. These are PC gamers who want to sit down at their computer and play games, not pick up their phone and play games on a tiny screen.
Yeah, Mortal at least got a PC launch. I believe at the same time it actually got released.
No, it was later, but it did get released on PC.
Yeah. I remember I started playing it on PC as soon as it was on PC. I've never played it on my phone. Partially because my phone would literally burst into flames if it attempted to play it. And I know I'd be getting the authentic Sanctuary experience. Look at the flares of hell. Yeah, no, but nevertheless, no. So I am curious to see. Well, it kind of feels like to a certain degree what we're getting into the post-mobile era where games are no longer designed so that they would only work on one platform. Like there's a certain amount of this could be run on PC. Why isn't it?
Yeah,
if a game exists, it might as well be on multiple platforms. If you have a game you've designed for mobile, there's probably very little keeping you from playing it on PC.
And from jump, people were running Rumble on emulators on their computer, and they were streaming it via third-party programs. And so it's not like it hasn't been playable on your PC. It's just that was with workarounds, not an official client.
And now they will have one. So
and now they will have one.
That's interesting that they've done that with both of their big mobile games. I would say they did it with Hearthstone too, but they actually went the other way with Hearthstone, where it started on PC and then they released it on mobile.
Yeah. So Rumble is rumbling along. They've announced some new heroes for it, some new leaders that are dual faction, so that it makes sense that Sylvanas is both Horde and Undead, because, hey, guess what? She led the Horde for a while. And they're adding Malfurion, who's going to be Alliance and Cenarius, and Orgrim Doomhammer, who's going to be both the BlackRock and Horde faction, and everyone's favorite beetle, Anubarak, who will be Beast and Undead. So you can mix and match and have more fun with the different heroes you got, and try and work some different combinations and just play more of the game.
And then you get Cho'Gall, who's just crazy and crazy. New factions they've created just for him.
I would be all over that. I love Cho'Gall.
Yeah, I also love Cho'Gall, although it's not a good love. He's not a good person to know. But we're going to move around to another kind of interesting little tidbit that's not about Warcraft Rumble, but it is a Warcraft thing. Warcraft 1 and 2 remasters are apparently live now. I thought they were coming out next week, but apparently no, they're out now.
Blizzard announced them during Warcraft Direct and said you can download them now.
So,
it
yeah.
was
And then,
like,
boom, go.
wow. Yeah,
So,
boom, go.
Are they
Here's
still
Warcraft.
they're still just PC though, right? They haven't put them on consoles in any way?
They are still just PC, and one tiny little note: they are not available on Mac, which I don't know. Maybe Blizzard has just saved me from having to replay these games. I can move on with my life.
Yeah,
but
they did.
I was a little annoyed because I opened up the page about the battle chest because you can buy 1, 2, and 3, all of the remasters in a battle chest now. And it lists Mac system requirements. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's great. All this is Mac compatible. And then if you go in and read the fine print, it says, well, actually, Warcraft 1 and 2 are not Mac compatible. Have fun. So I saved myself some money there. Why
are you giving me system requirements for a system you won't let me run this game on? What are you doing?
You can play Warcraft 3 on Mac, I think.
Wow. Okay.
Not the 1 and 2 remasters, and the battle chest has 1, 2, and 3. So it's like, am I doing this just to play Warcraft 3? Really?
I mean, it is the best one, but yeah, I guess you. Also, Reforged is getting a slight glow up as well. They're fixing some bugs. They're doing a few graphical things. It is not to the level of another remaster because they just did that a couple years ago, and it didn't really work out. So they're not going to do that again.
They did it, but it didn't go too well. I think the patch, the Warcraft 3 Reforged 2.0 is kind of aiming to bring it up to par, but it's still not exactly kind of the reimagining that Blizzard originally promised, and I don't think we're ever going to see that.
No.
I don't think that there's enough people left working on it to do that. I think that this is probably much like Heroes of the Storm. It's probably its last gasp in maintenance mode kind of thing. That this is going to get it to the point of this is not egregiously awful for the long-term fans, and then it's one developer working on it in his off time that he begs his manager for.
Yeah, so
because he loves it, like that, it's definitely a passion project. So it's definitely a love of the
I think
game.
To a certain degree, it's also the fact that their current corporate overlords want to get RTS back on the menu, so to speak, and this is one of the ways you kind of inch into that. However, as we mentioned before, Warcraft Direct last week, it was literally the day after the podcast, which is
that's how it goes.
Par for the course. I'm sure tomorrow we're going to find out that Microsoft has been bought by space aliens. But regardless,
finally,
there's a ton of stuff to mention. I'm actually going to mention something that I think is technically not as important, but I think people are going to be most interested in. They're giving us player housing in 2025, winter 2025, which means next year.
You think that's not important? I think that's the only important thing on this list.
That's my
player housing.
It's not important in terms of it, there's not much to say about it. All I can say is player housing is happening, and there's a video, but the video is just a guy sitting in his house. We don't know anything about how player housing is going to work. We're pretty sure it's going to be it's possible midnight will be out.
No.
Based on I'm just saying that they've said winter 2025, which is not tremendously nailing it down. That could easily slip into 2026. You never know with these guys, and when it's this vague, there's just not a lot to say. Is player housing a good idea? Go ahead. I'm sorry, Liz.
I don't think they'd put it on the 2025 roadmap. They aren't sure they could get out. My guess is this is going to be the midnight pre-patch, which is going to hit right at the end of the year with midnight in January or February.
Which means they've basically made themselves stick pretty closely to that 2 years almost exactly thing.
Yeah, they have been pushing really hard to get content out on a regular and really aggressive pace.
But yeah, I feel like all of us here should mention should now talk about player housing at least a little. I feel like I've already made my point that I don't feel like this is enough news for me to have any real opinions, but I do think it's fascinating to see them finally give this to players who've been basically been talking about it since 2004. Like literally,
it's been forever.
No, players have always wanted it. I'm waiting to see how this like monumentally breaks the game.
I bet.
Go ahead.
I'm just gonna assume Yogg Saron is gonna be broken when player housing rolls out. It's a sad reality. Is Blizzard does anything and Yogg Saron breaks.
Yeah,
he's just a very temperamental old god.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a good thing.
Player housing and Yogg Saron now has a dance studio. I don't understand this.
Hey, listen, there was a functional display of the dance studio at one point. No, I think this is a good thing overall. I think a lot of players have wanted it. I'm going to be very curious how it's implemented, because one thing that I've pointed out in the past is garrisons in the beta for Warlords of Draenor was very much player housing. It got scaled way back when I think they realized that they couldn't reach those goals. But like you were able to invite your friends over and you could put stuff in different things that weren't just the plot, and you could decorate, and then you could open and close your gates so that you can, if you didn't feel like visitors, you just closed your gates. And then a lot of us had the Wildstar player housing, which opened at level 14 and was the real end game. Didn't matter that you could level to 60. That didn't matter. You got to 14, you got player housing, that was the end of it. That's all you dealt. So
yes, let's all take a moment to remember the beer sign.
Rainbeer Road.
Rainbeer Road. The video is still online. It has been preserved, so you all may go see it. If you look up Rainbeer Road, it'll be the only video out there with that name. But yeah, it's a good thing overall.
That's the kind of wackiness that people are hoping to get out of player housing, I'm pretty sure.
I don't think it's going to be anything that wacky, though, right? Like, I don't know that it's going to be, at least at first, I don't think it's going to be anything too extravagant. I'm going to guess you're probably going to get, like, a version of a house depending on what faction you're in or what your character race is. And then like, you're going to be able to decorate like X number of things or make a choice of things that you unlock. Because it's the only way I see with this many players making it viable, because that's so much data. That is so much data, but either way,
on top of a 20-year-old code base, we'll see. I am very excited to see though. I want to know what's going on here, and I hope we have I hope we have a lot of options. I hope it's just not like, okay, I'm playing Horde, so I get a house covered in spikes. I'm not into the spike aesthetic. So...
Well, don't forget, you could also get an undead house that's covered in goo.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I could get the undead house or the
I
house
have pets. My house is already covered in goo.
So I hope we have some options that aren't just... You play Horde, so your house looks like this, or you play Alliance, so your house is a cheerful Goldshire Inn. Because no, please.
My Draenei is crying because there are no crystals anywhere in his house.
Exactly.
How do I even go to the bathroom? All they have are these shells.
Also,
what do they do?
I'm playing a Drakthir now. You have to be able to take your, you have to be able to fit through the door with your wings without, like, crunching down. So, it has to be designed with that in mind.
Yeah, and also I'm going to say for, like, Worgen and Drakthir and Pandaren, there needs to be a scritchy thing on the wall so you can get your back. And maybe for some humans, too, quite frankly. If you live alone, scritchy thing on the wall is nice. I'm just... my time has passed. Maybe I've just gotten too jaded. My response to player housing was, I hope I never have to deal with it. And I mean, like I said, I don't want to be, Captain Funsucker, but I just don't want to have to deal with it. Yeah, I think you're right in terms of that. Yep. I was hoping someone else would talk. I want to save the things I was saying before, but Liz was talking about Transmog for a while.
I mean, there should be optional systems. The game it's hard. You can't make a game that's designed for everyone, right? You can't make one thing that every single person is going to go to and say, this is fun, I love it.
I think that is in fact really an important point for you to make, because I think people forget this. They like, there's that whole, what's the old axiom? The mistake of assuming personal experience is universal. Mm-hmm. For some people, it's absolutely the case that, say, PvP is the most important thing, and they love it and they do it all the time, and it's their focus. But a lot of people can't stand PvP and don't want to go anywhere near it. I liked them the first time.
I would argue that the first two mission tables were an okay addition, and I did not mind having to interact with them. But by the third and fourth time, they were less good.
Yeah, I would say that the novelty basically carried me through Warlords of Draenor. I think that they made some interesting improvements that made them more interesting in Legion, and then I didn't want to do it anymore. But that's just me, and there were other people I know who kept riding that train all the way through into Shadowlands.
Well, Shadowlands, I just got the app, and the app did all my work for me, and I got rewards.
Yeah, but there was also that roguelike that it wasn't an auto battler.
Yeah, the add-on. Sorry, the add-on, not the app. The app is great, but the add-on that I just said I want to do as many missions that prioritize gold, and then charms, and then anima power, and then after that ignore everything else. One button, go, come back in a minute, and go about my life.
Yeah, that's what you want in a game system. I don't want to play this. Punch. Okay, I'm good.
But I extracted so much value from the rewards from it. I just didn't want to engage with the... It's a lot like the Diablo 4 Paragon tree. I don't want to engage with it. I just want, a guide and then to get powerful. I don't want to have to think about why I'm choosing this button or this blob or this node. I just want someone else to do all my thinking for me in that case so that my guy punches demons harder.
The only thing that I'm concerned about is if they give how many options they make available, right? One of the things that I think was interesting, but also a detriment to WildStar, was when you had player housing, there were a lot of rewards in the content you did that were just player housing items. And so if you didn't engage with that, your options were to sell it on the auction house or their version of the trade exchange or whatever it was called, Intergalactic Exchange, or just do nothing with it. Or vendor it maybe. And if they start replacing other drops with it or put it in like inside of loot tables as opposed to being its own thing, that could be detrimental. Or if they tie it to I don't know what would be better. And maybe this is something we can discuss for, because whatever, it's our show, we can do what we want. Yeah. Would you rather it be like items, if they were going to put more in there, would you rather them be their own separate table, or would you rather them be tied to achievements or doing specific things to get like almost like transmogs, but not be drops? What would you prefer?
I know 100% that I expect them to be sources from all over the world. Achievements, like everything you do in game can lead to some like a new chair, a new wall hanging, etc., etc. What I 100% do not want them to do, and this is just one very specific example for myself, is do not make me go back to the Argent tournament. I've gone back 3 times after I've said that I was done, that I'd gotten all the rewards, and then they added in toys and they added in extra battle pets, and I was just like, every time it killed me. But as long as they don't put any kind of housing accessory in the Argent tournament, I will be okay.
See, my theory, and I do actually want to talk about other stuff, because we have a lot of other stuff to talk about.
So much is happening.
Slow
it down, Blizzard.
I don't want to find myself in a situation where I'm actually interested in doing this, and the primary way to interact with it is to spend real money. I've already had this situation with Transmog in Diablo 4, where I simply don't pursue Transmog there with anything like the fervor I would like to, because my options for getting new stuff are spend money.
And not just spend a little money. Spend a lot of money.
Like $25 for one outfit. Mm-hmm. And there's enough outfits.
Class.
Yeah, for one
outfit
class.
For one class.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, that's not a problem, because what else am I playing? But for other people, yeah, that's I spent $25 on this outfit. I'm only going to get to wear on one of my 6 characters. So yeah, there is I don't want that to be housing, because at the same time, I think there will be at least some, cash, for looks thing and instigated. And I've even said, to a certain degree, I think that it's fine when it's something like housing, because that way it keeps it away from, buying power. I don't want people to be able to actually buy power. If all you can buy is a new couch for your house, I mean, on the one hand, that means that if you don't have the money to spend on a, couch, you're not going to get one. And I don't want that, because what is the point of having this thing that people have wanted for literally 20 years if you don't get to do anything unless you spend money? That doesn't feel good. Just thinking about it feels bad. But at the same time, I do understand that, we've basically the subscription hasn't gone up in the full 20 years of World of Warcraft. The subscription hasn't really gone up. The game prices are higher, but not to the level you might expect. So I do know that companies they like money a lot. Like they would push you off of a building if there was money in it for them. So yeah, and they could get away with it. They don't want the shareholders to find out they're pushing people off of things. But regardless,
although the shareholders could see that as decisive decision making.
Yes, exactly.
Be in favor of it.
Ooh, yeah, that's a big, bold decision. But regardless, I do understand that that's going to happen to some degree. But if it's the only way, then it becomes onerous, in my opinion. This needs to be something where, sure, you can buy things, but you can also just play the game and get things. Maybe not as fast, maybe not the really cool ones, but it shouldn't feel like there's no option, the way it does in Diablo 4, where I have every look you can get on the outside of money. And I got them pretty much just playing the game. There's no hunting involved.
I would say that there's at most 4 transmog sets that have popped up on the shop as like a purchased thing. Maybe more, but I'm thinking of like the major ones. Like there's the Firelord's Finery and the Sprite Darter set and maybe a couple others. But for the most part, most of the transmog in Warcraft have come from just playing the game.
Yeah, that's fair. I just
like
saying
99%
player housing to turn into that is all I'm saying.
So either they've been super restrained, but yeah, I don't think that we'd see a big push to making an entirely, trading market, housing market for real money. I don't think that we're in danger of that. Of course, if in a year and a half we find out differently, then feel free to refer back to this podcast episode and laugh at me for being so wrong.
I think at that point I would probably moved on to being depressed about something. But regardless, yeah, that's a thing. I feel like we really do need to, if nothing else, at least sit here and realize this is a momentous event. It's 20 years in the making. People have wanted this forever. Now it's here. What does it mean? And what will it be like? And all that stuff we haven't gotten to any information on.
I think that we also, they had the most amazing copy in their tweets about it too. And it was like, for 20 years, you've lived in Azeroth, now you can come home. And I was just like, that is perfect marketing right there. That is like, somebody got paid not enough money for them coming up with that line, because it is so good.
You have successfully raised my hopes, and now you may dash them, sis. But okay, since we're talking about it, the World of Warcraft 2025 roadmap, which Liz mentioned, since they have this on there, and there's plenty of other stuff. Like the roadmap is every roadmap they put out, and they put out like 3, maybe 4.
Yeah, 3.
They got Hearthstone too, so they did WoW Classic, they did World of Warcraft. They did Hearthstone. Didn't they do another one, or am I just kind of insane?
Isn't it Discovery or Classic Plus, or
that's still Classic? I would say
all of the Season of Discovery, Classic, all of that. You may think I'm stuttering there, but I'm not.
No,
that's on the Classic roadmap.
So, rather than try and go through all of this stuff in this roadmap, I will just point out that the roadmap takes us to. In patch 11.0.7, we have the Siren Isle coming, which is similar to what they did before in Dragonflight. Go ahead, Liz.
We knew about this one. We knew about the Siren Isle, kind of a little patch with some little diversions and collectibles and things to do here. But now we know it's coming out on December 17th. I had not expected it this soon. I actually figured it would be in January. I figured we weren't going to get another patch this year.
That's around a month.
Yeah.
Especially dropping as it is a week before Christmas.
Yep.
Yeah.
After that, go ahead.
And a couple weeks after Thanksgiving. This is like dead in the middle of holiday season in the United States.
Yep. After that, patch 11.1 is going to be the Undermined. They actually have the D in parentheses, so it's Undermined parentheses D. That's going to be a bit bigger. It's because it's patch 11.
It's a major patch. Yeah.
It's there's going to be a raid. There's all sorts of stuff happening there. That's considered season 2 for the War Within. Then we have 2 smaller patches. There's 11.1.5 and 11.1.7. They follow the program that you guys remember from Dragonflight pretty extensively. I'm looking at them, and unfortunately, they're in the spring. We don't really know much more about them than that. There's Children's Week quests. It's an update to Children's Week apparently.
It's kind of the same pattern we've seen them doing. Yeah. You've got your the 0.0 patch, and the 0.05, and then the 0.07, and then the 0.1, then 0.105, and then 0.107. You know.
Yeah, basically,
I think I'm adding too many O's to these.
Yeah,
but
you are doing that.
You get the idea. It's like major patch, minor patch, minor patch, and everything about 2 months apart.
Yeah, the next major patch, which is on this thing, is for a new zone. This is season 3, which makes this. Yeah. This is the final season on this roadmap. We just know it's 11.2. We don't know if there's going to be an 11.3 or not. It doesn't say when. There wasn't a 10.3 if I'm not insane, but it might be. But regardless, 11.2 is going to have new zone, new world events. Looks like it's going to have new raid. It's pretty much the standard season patch.
It's a new season. It gets a new raid, new Mythic Plus rotation. I think to an extent, this feels like this is business as usual.
Yeah.
There's probably going to be a new mega dungeon.
Seems possible. But there's also new open world content, which I think is interesting. There's also going to be the expansion reveal. I don't know what that means. Like, it means it's just going to reveal the expansion, but that's coming after 11.2. I don't think it's going to mean we're not going to get the pre-patch for the expansion at that point. I think it's literally just going to be, here is what it is.
Because on the roadmap, they say expansion reveal, and after that is 11.2.5 and 11.2.7. And then a little icon of a house.
Yep, and then winter. And the house is directly in front of winter. So hopefully, that's the thing that is happening. But it's simultaneously it's bog standard for what we saw in Dragonflight. It's basically the exact same kind of roadmap, but it also does kind of give us a sense of how fast this train is moving. And the fact that they're going to be doing some kind of expansion reveal after 11.2 and before the 2 patches, 11.2.5 and 11.2.7, indicates that they are committed to the speed of release that they've had. So at least that's my take on it.
And they've always threatened to do something along these lines. And
they've been trying to do this for literally the same 20 years they were trying
20 years?
Play housing. Yeah, so. At this point, Joe, I am paranoid that we're having technical difficulties, so I'm asking you to say something. No, I'm
still here. We're good.
Thank God. So yeah, that's the roadmap in broad strokes. Do either of you have anything you want to say? Any of you, because Joe is here as well.
I really hope you like goblins, because the whole next season is going to be goblins, at least for raid content.
It sounds like for the whole, it sounds like everything in 11.1 is going to be goblin oriented. We're going to undermine, unsurprisingly, we're dealing with goblin politics. The raid is the liberation of undermine. There won't be flying in undermine, but there will be cars, which you can customize. Yes. And there will be some new delves. But still with our friend Bran.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you need to tell people about Bran still being in the delves.
Still with our friend Bran. Which Blizzard had said was not happening, that we would get someone new and that we would not have to continue adventuring with Bran with the same zingy one-liners for the rest of the expansion. But now I think we will. We are stuck with Bran Bronzebeard for all of 2025. So
yeah, it's fine.
Yay!
If I were Bran Bronzebeard right now, my self-esteem would be in my feet.
It's like, look, he's a perfectly cromulent companion. We were just hoping to see other people come along.
Yeah, you're good. You're fine, Bran. But it's just I can only eat hamburger so much.
I did kind of hope we would get more of the League of Explorers and get some more interesting characters. And also, there's only so many times you can hear the same lines before they get. And
I mean, to be fair though, they have at least fixed Bran's AI quite a bit. So he's not quite as bad as he used to be, where I'd be at the end pulling the final encounter of the delve, and then he'd still be at the front fighting this one lone evaded bug creature that I didn't even know was there because it spawned in a wall. So he at least knows to walk away now.
But he'll probably still be telling us not to stand in AoE attacks that he himself is standing in. I'm just assuming there, but it seems likely.
We should also mention really briefly that if you want to punch Gallywix in the face, and you've wanted to punch him in the face for a long time, I'm looking at all long-term Goblin players.
I cannot wait for that.
Yeah, you will finally possibly get a chance to punch Gallywix in the face, because he is involved in some way.
He is the final boss, likely, of the raid. If not final, the second last.
Yeah, and then the final boss will turn out to be a gigantic shoe. I don't know why I said that. It doesn't really mean anything. I just don't like Gallywix, so yeah. We'll do some WoW Classic here.
Thought it was a joke about how often we see Xalatath's feet.
No, I haven't been looking at Xalatath's feet. What are you talking about? No, I'm out of here. No, I didn't actually know Xalatath's feet were all that involved. I'm sorry.
There's just been a lot of talk about how prominently they feature in a lot of the cinematics.
Okay. Sorry. I mean, Claudia Christian does the voice, so for me, it's like Ivanova every time Xalatath shows up. I'm like, oh, Ivanova. Oh no, it's not. It's not as equivalent, but still, glad to hear Claudia Christian talking. She's a great. Yeah, we got the WoW Classic 2025 roadmap. That's got a lot of stuff in it, and we'll try and cover some of them now. For example, we got the new WoW Classic servers are coming. Blizzard has called them Classic. Seriously, it's like Coke Classic. Like it's really, we're just throwing classics at you.
See if you can taste the difference.
Yeah,
like. The original Classic servers have been around for a few years. Their economies are very established or very broken or
calcified, whatever word you want to use.
Calcified. That's an excellent word. I like it. And this is a fresh start on a new Classic realm, and it's going to go through the stages. It's going to roll out all of the original vanilla stuff. Then it's going to roll out all the Burning Crusade stuff. So you can start over and experience it again from the beginning.
Yeah, they've actually we should mention that this is starting on November 21st, which is 2 days as we're recording it. Yeah. So if you're listening, either you're listening to us and going, oh, that's in 2 days, or you're saying, oh, that was this week. So yeah, either way, you can jump on. By the time you hear me talking, you can jump on pretty soon and start a character and begin leveling from 1 to 60 at the original speed, although there's usually some leveling buff stuff, like Winds of whatever. Regardless, you can start doing that, and you will be on a server where people have not already cornered the market on everything. It's tens of thousands of gold for like some copper. Not that I had that experience, but regardless, yeah, that's happening. We're also going to be getting Molten Core and Onyxia. Those are opening on December 12th. So keep that in mind. From November 21st to December 12th, that's your getting to level 60 time.
Which is not a lot of time to get to level 60, but
nope.
You got a little time. Yeah, a little time. That's a treat.
We should also mention Wrath Classic Season of Discovery is going to have its Season 7, which is going to be sometime in 2025.
That's not Wrath. It's just Classic.
WoW Classic. Sorry.
This is the mini-headed Hydra of Classic.
Which is going to get worse because we're also getting Mists of Pandaria Classic.
Yeah, we currently active. We have WoW Classic. We're about to have WoW Classic. We also have Cataclysm Classic and Season of Discovery. And, as you say, soon, Mists of Pandaria Classic.
Which, I mean, I don't think anybody was surprised by Mists of Pandaria Classic. I psychically predicted this was going to happen.
Whether or not we get to Warlords Classic, who knows?
Yeah, that's not an experience I necessarily need, but sure.
They did Cataclysm Classic, so I don't think anything is off the table. After they did Cataclysm, it's like, okay, they're going all the way. If you're doing this, you're doing everything.
But the Season of Discovery, Season 7, it's coming in 2025. I don't think we know exactly when it will be.
We don't have a date. It's
early 2025 is what we have on our article.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be next Ramus and new indie content.
Yeah. Which is pretty cool. I'm interested to see if they make any changes to Next Ramus as they have done with other stuff so far, or add any new abilities or anything you can pick up there that they, there's a lot you could do, and I'm interested to see what they do with it. So yeah, that's pretty much the WoW Classic slate of stuff. It's a fair amount of stuff.
It's a busy time for the WoW team. It continues to be. They just haven't slowed down.
Nope, they have not. And I mean, on the one hand, good because more content, but on the other hand, wow, this is a pace that is kind of shocking for us old folks who remember, when are we going to get another raid after this Siege of Orgrimmar thing? In about 18 months. Dear God, help us all. But yeah, there's some Diablo news that we're going to try to get through relatively quickly so we can go on to other news because there's still more news. If you were wondering why should I even bother, like after the initial season, why should I even get Vessel of Hatred? I can just switch back to just doing. I could literally not bother to getting it and just keep playing because I get level 60. I get Paragon. I will have all the content of the original game world. What's the deal? If you're one of those people like Seasons, there's going to be specific seasonal content just for people who have Vessel of Hatred, and that's going to be every season from now on. That's something that Rod Ferguson talked about. They're making sure that the Vessel of Hatred is considered baseline, and we'll have stuff that's specifically for it. Go ahead, Liz. I heard you talking.
I mean, I think it makes sense. They want you to come to Nahantu and do Nahantu stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And there is cool stuff to do in Nahantu. There are cool new things in the expansion. But also, the base game is better than it's ever been. So to an extent, you aren't pushed to buy the expansion necessarily, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. And like I said, many people have said straight up, okay, why should I buy it? You know, if people who are not particularly into the story, I mean, I think having me and Joe on this podcast and then saying for people who are not particularly interested in the story, it's like the two of us are like, what do you do this for then? But I understand that for people who are not particularly involved in the story, if I can have all the same demon smashing fun without laying out more money, why wouldn't I? So making it so that there's more value to the expansion makes sense. I will add a tiny note here that I did not add to our topics list, which is that Vessel of Hatred is currently 25% off on the Battle.net store for Black Friday. So if you had been thinking about it, but you were on the fence or it was a little too expensive because expansions are expensive, you can get it now at a discount. I got to tell you straight up, too, it is a really good expansion. I still think it's got one of the better stories I've ever seen in a Diablo game. It's maybe not quite as good as the story for the main campaign, but it's really good. So I recommend getting it. But regardless, we also have a campfire chat coming for Season 7. They're going to talk about Diablo 4 Season 7, another Season 7. That campfire chat's going to be on November 21st, and we know there's going to be a PTR and a season announcement, but we don't know exactly when the PTR is going to be, much less when the season will actually be coming out. We kind of know, but we don't really.
Actually, now that you've said that, I think they said the PTR would be coming up after Thanksgiving, just because after the holidays when everyone's back in the office.
Yeah, don't want to do it during Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But so that's happening, and that's cool. I'm interested in seeing what the new season is and what they're doing with it. Quite frankly, I kind of hope at some point you guys seriously start considering putting seasonal content on the Eternal Realm. It just feels weird to me that I can't play my original character. But there's Midwinter Blight. That's, again, it's not really coming back, but it's kind of coming back. They kind of did something really weird here in that they butcherized Midwinter Blight, where they just made the one boss showing up in Helltides. That they didn't do the full event.
Yeah. So, I mean, last winter we had Midwinter Blight, and it was this big event where, cities were bedazzled with skulls. There was this whole skull decoration and a skull tree and a reputation thing to go through to get rewards. And apparently that's not happening, but we're getting the boss, and he's just going to show up in Helltides, I think, in place of Helltide Commander.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm glad to see the Red Cloaked Horror come back, but I would have liked them to just bring the whole event back, and I'm not really up on why they didn't.
I want to go back and visit the skull tree. I mean, come on. It's the holiday season. I want a skull tree.
I'm trying to make my skull throne, and it's really hard, guys. If you don't put more skulls out there, that's your Warhammer
I think
reference.
part of your skull throne is going and getting the skulls for yourself.
See, I get you. I understand that you're Orthodox, but I'm Reformed. I'm a Sigmarist, so I'm at this point, I'm trying to get Joe to react.
No.
I'm going to make Age of Sigmar references until he does.
I mean, you can try. You can try, but it ain't gonna happen, man.
Well, I did, dude. You just reacted.
It's like all those quests in the Barrens where you're going to get boar livers, and it takes you 10 boars to get a liver.
Yeah,
I guess you're just smashing them so hard they no longer have livers.
Their organs are now just kind of unvariegated paste. The thing about that that always got me was that you kill a zebra and you can't get a single hoof off that thing.
That's always been my like least favorite thing about like MMOs. Like I kind of understand like if I blow it up with a fireball, there's a chance that stuff might not be there. But if I'm playing a class where I'm just like literally hitting this thing with a stick, why aren't the hooves there? Seriously, where'd they go?
Did its legs just fly off from the impact? Is this a pinata zebra?
If this was Diablo, I would understand completely because that stuff happens all the time.
Now, I chunk these things. There's bits of whatever that demon was in that guy's hair over there and in that tree over there. But the zebra, I mean, yeah, no, it's weird. But we're gonna also, I should mention this. There's two things. First off, the Mother's Blessing is back, which is the Diablo 4 experience boost weekend type thing. That's going to be till November 26th. I think it's open right now, right? Or
yes,
is it just?
It is now live. It's now live.
If you are not currently playing Diablo 4, but you want to get your character leveled, you can get an XP boost. It's 50%, or is it just 10%, or what? I can never remember how much it is.
35?
35?
I think it's 35 and 50% gold boost.
Okay.
50% extra gold, 35%.
Okay, I looked it up, and yeah, that's what it is. I looked it up on Blizzard Watch, by the way, so you can totally do that. Just a shout out to our articles, because a lot of these things are sourced from our articles. But also, they're also making other things. They're making a boost for Eternal Realm characters as well. So if you've been playing an Eternal Realm character, you want to play that character again, you can get some neat stuff, and there's a boost to level 50, blah, blah. There's a lot of neat stuff. So yeah, all Altars of Lilith unlocked. There is a fair amount of things that you can pick up to make it easier.
I think the best thing is it gives you a fresh set of gear designed towards whichever spec you quest. And that is something like if you played Diablo 4 on launch and then you're like, okay, I had fun, I'm leaving. And you came back for the expansion. It's like, wait, all of my gear is like depreciated and I can't upgrade it anymore. And it's way less powerful than these drops I'm getting now. So this is kind of like a reset that can bring you back up to bring you back up to par.
I leveled about 2 of my Eternal characters before I did a season character.
It's a pain.
And my biggest pain wasn't the process itself. It was the fact that I was literally made out of tinfoil and cardboard until I started getting gear drops.
Yeah, because all of a sudden your old gear is like nothing.
Yeah, and the only reason
you're starting over.
The only reason I got through it was because I had played this like several characters to 100. I had a ton of money. Money lets you buy things, and I had a ton of materials. Materials let you boost that yellow item that dropped into a legendary. So I was basically bootstrapping myself legendaries. I was just throwing legendaries at the problem until the problem wasn't there anymore. The problem being I didn't have any good legendaries anymore because they'd put in a whole new gear system. But if you stopped playing at say you stopped playing at like level 40 or something, and now when they did the leveling thing, that your level dropped down to say like 35. Your gear is completely just not gonna help you. You will be made out of tinfoil and cardboard. You will just die. So it is nice that they've come up with, we should totally have done this. So I do agree with that. I think that's really, especially for people who played, but then we're like, I didn't feel the need to do this before. So yeah, it's good. It's good overall. It's good for Diablo 4, which is, again, as Liz pointed out earlier, it's in the best shape of its life. This is the best Diablo 4 has ever been. It is not the best it could be, but I leave that to other people to argue what the next big changes should be to make it even better. It is really good. I can say for sure, though, not just cutting all your weird little holidays up into bite-sized chunks and like instead of just having the holiday, that would be a step up.
Agreed.
It would just be nice if their holidays had a little more substance to them.
Absolutely.
At least this one would be something that I could run into, because the last one was basically only in Nightmare Dungeons. And at a certain point of playing,
and it didn't even necessarily do anything.
Yeah.
You could kind of sometimes run into the butcher a little bit more.
Yeah, kinda.
That was the Halloween event, Meet or Treat, in which shrines may or may not spawn the butcher. Shrines only in Nightmare Dungeons. You could really log on and not know an event was happening at all.
Yeah. Or, just not get a shrine in your Nightmare Dungeons.
Also that. Also,
Go ahead.
I mean, they gave everyone a free horse, a free spider-infested horse, and the only way you found out is if you looked at the shop.
That's not.
That's
not
a segue into a very long discussion of upsetness. Look at my horse; it's choking with spiders. Oh God! And you can only get it from a store that you have to check.
It was just you and 58,000 of your closest friends going on a little journey together.
Yes. But we should mention Hearthstone Battlegrounds Season 9. It starts December 3rd, and it's going to be adding microtransactions because, of course, it is. Liz, do you want to talk about the microtransactions?
I love Hearthstone Battlegrounds, and I am very excited for Season 9 because it's a new season of Hearthstone Battlegrounds. And it's kind of Battleground seasons always adjust sort of the state of the world. Trinkets are going, but the new mechanic replacing them is called hero rerolls, where you can go into the game and it gives you a selection of heroes to play at the very beginning, a random selection, and you pick one. And now you can reroll those, except the rerolls are bought with a token that you can pay cash for, which is a little weird. It's kind of the ongoing quest of the Hearthstone team to monetize the game in a way people will actually engage with, which I think has been a problem since the invention of this game mode. And I don't know, it's kind of going to be one of the hard things about Battlegrounds is you go in and it just gives you a random selection of heroes to play. 2, if you are a free player. 4, if you have paid for the season pass. And, maybe none of those are a hero you want to play. Maybe none of those are heroes that are very good right now, and you don't feel like that. But you don't have a choice. These are the heroes that you can play. These are your options. And now you'll be able to roll them. So you can get some of these for free. You can get, I believe, 8 of them on the free battle pass. You can earn them through events. Blizzard has said, but not clarified, you might get them from drops. But, a Battleground season lasts 2 or 3 months, and getting to reroll a hero 8 times over the course of several months sounds pretty weak, unless you're willing to pay cash. So I'm feeling a little cynical here.
Yeah, the cash shop thing was the first thing I thought of as well. Yeah, that would be.
But it is also rotating out a huge pool of minions. There are going to be 3 new heroes. The damage caps are changing. There's currently, if you play the game, there's a damage cap so that you can't get like one shot in the first round. It's not technically possible, but to make it harder to get eliminated in the early game. But you can still get eliminated pretty easily in the early game if your early hands don't go your way. This is going to make it a little easier to not get murdered early on, so you have a better chance to catch up. That's going to be great. We're going to get 3 new heroes. One of them is going to be Nabundo, who is a Draenei hero. We did speculate there would be new Draenei minions. There are not. Draenei minions just got added to the mini game, but they're not coming to Battlegrounds. And we don't know about the next heroes, so we'll find out. It's still going to be fun. You don't have to engage with the reroll thing if you don't want to. You don't have to spend money on the reroll thing if you don't want to. You can just keep playing the game as you play it. So I'm on the fence about the reroll thing. Like, I guess it's
the reroll
fine.
Makes sense in a way. Like, it definitely is a good way to like monetize that. I feel like it would get a lot more positive interaction if it was like a $5 one-time cost for the season.
Well, I should add that. If you buy the season pass, which gives you extra rewards on the rewards track, you can now buy the season pass plus, which gives you the same extra rewards, but also gives you 1 reroll per game you play. So every game you can go in and you can reroll your heroes if you don't like them. So you can pay $5 and just, okay, now we've got rerolls and I can have a lot more flexibility on who I play each game.
I'd like to say that I'm a genius and I'm very good at this.
You are a star here, Corey. You knew that was coming.
I didn't know that was coming because I hadn't read that article on BlizzardWatch.com, but I appreciate it. That does sound like if I was playing Battlegrounds all day, that's definitely the way to go.
And I had forgotten to mention that, and your keen skills brought
and
up
my ability to sit here and drink some soda, meant that both of you could talk. No, but we should mention really fast, we've got the Into the Emerald Dream in patch 32.0. I believe that is what that is. Then the Shrouded City, which is kind of a sequel to Journey to Ungoro, I think. That's coming with at least Starseeker is coming, and that's 33.0. Go ahead, Liz.
I was trying to figure out what we were talking about, what we had
Hearthstone.
said to. Yes, Hearthstone actually released a roadmap, which Hearthstone has never done.
Nope.
Never, ever. So we do know what the next 3 expansions are, at least their names.
Yeah. Like I said, Into the Emerald Dream, the Shrouded City, kind of a sequel to Journey to Ungoro, and finally, the Heroes of Time, which is StarCraft heroes and themed. And I didn't see that coming. The last time we saw Blizzard doing a crossover between this, it wasn't this game.
Well, okay. I don't know how much StarCraft is going to be in the last season of 2025. They're doing a StarCraft themed mini set.
Yeah. It's not the whole thing. Year. I'm sorry if I gave that impression. That's just me being completely confused.
But it is very confusing. The mini set is coming out in January. So it's actually early next year.
But,
and it's weird.
Yes,
Hearthstone does not have a good track record with crossovers, and this is going to be a whole StarCraft-themed mini set with Zerg and Protoss and Terrans. Each StarCraft faction will be available to different classes in Hearthstone. Zerg are Death Knight, Hunter, Warlock, and Demon Hunter. Protoss are Druid, Mage, Priest, and Rogue. And Terrans are Paladin, Shamans, and Warriors. So we're just gonna get a whole bunch of StarCraft cards mixed in with our Warcraft.
And the actual expansion theme, the Heroes of Time, is basically Chromie collecting people from other timelines and alternate realities to recruit various people to fight Murozond in a mini set called the End of Time. So yeah, that's what's going on with that one. I don't know why I thought the Draenei were in that one instead. Not the Draenei, the StarCraft. I'm trying to say Protoss, but I didn't know why. I don't know why I thought they were in that one and not just a mini set. But I did. And now I was wrong, and now we've cleared that up. But this still makes me wonder. Heroes of the Storm, guys. Maybe you could do Heroes of the Storm. Corey would really like it. Look at him.
I would really like that.
I'd like it too. I loved Heroes of the Storm. It was so much fun.
It was so good at giving these characters that we know and love in all the other games their own little razzmatazz that made them stand out a little more. Like there's a canonical Crusader and a canonical Witch Doctor now because of Heroes of the Storm, and Nazebo had a PhD in PvP thanks to Carbot and Heroes of the Storm, and it was just fun times. We're still seeing Brightwing pop up.
Yeah, we were seeing like new characters and not tied to any other IP start to get created as well, which was super, super fun. Like Ophelia, right? Like she was not tied to anything else.
I think it was Orphea.
Orthea? Was it Orthea?
Orphea. Like Orpheus. But,
yeah. So like, but I mean, like that was really cool. And I was like, oh, I remember being super excited, but like, oh, they're actually investing in this whole Nexus universe and it being its own thing. And then the game went in maintenance mode and I cried.
To be fair, Orphea was in there for a while before the maintenance.
It's true, but we didn't get more. We should have got more. We needed more.
Orphea and Kira.
Yeah.
Don't forget Kira with her amazing whip sword. Yeah, we could have gotten more. But again, also it was people didn't like. A lot of people were just like, sweet, new character, love her already kind of thing. But there was also a big part of the fan base that were saying, hey, you guys went from releasing a hero every month to releasing a hero every 3 months. And then one of those heroes that we only got in 3 months is not like Lilith or Lilith or Wansamdi or whoever the flavor of the month at that time was in whatever game. And so they were sad that it wasn't insert existing character here.
Yeah, which is always a problem, right? Like, I mean, I'm derailing this because let's go because I got Corey here. I got backup. I still play a lot of League of Legends, right? I enjoy the game. I've played it for a while. I like MOBAs. I like the whole concept of them. I like the fact that there's so many champions to choose from and stuff like that, or so many heroes. And I was really like, League of Legends has so many. Smite has pantheons of gods. And And then I was looking forward to seeing what Blizzard would do going all in on that genre again. And I liked the idea that they were trying to push, which I think maybe they could have marketed a little better too, which was, what if you had a MOBA with a talent system versus a inventory system, right? Like, which is essentially the entire value proposition of the game. And it was just a completely different feel. It felt like fun. You could customize your character abilities to a certain extent, instead of just leveling up the same 5 or 4 abilities over and over and over again to make them more powerful. It was the fun MOBA. It wasn't the serious MOBA. And I think that they missed out on really pushing that as, like, you know, its angle. So I don't know. I loved it. I wish it would come back. I wish it would come back with a vengeance. If they were to announce, an updated version of it, like Heroes of the Storm 2, I'd be super jazzed.
Or, even at this point, just bring back the game you had that you still have and is technically still playable.
It is very still playable.
It's not only still playable, but Blizzard has been releasing a balance patch like every month.
Yeah, a new one just at the PTR the other day. They're still going. Yeah. I think that I've recently talked with a former Blizzard employee about many, many things, but he talked about a project that they were working on that they loved so much. And they said that it had been canceled and they were so sad about it. But in a heartbeat, they would come back to work on that project again because they were so into it. And I'm sure that, a lot of the talent had moved on by the end of Heroes of the Storm tenure. Lana Baczynski is doing amazing things over at Riot on League of Legends. And she was like the animator who gave us so much of the amazing moments. She fully animated Deathwing. And, people like that on all levels of the game have moved on, but I'm sure that you would be able to collect a lot of them back if you said, "Hey, we're spinning up Heroes of the Storm again. You want to come back and have fun?"
Yeah, and I mean, and I think that's one of the things that I think is missing from games in general. The ones that are always being successful are ones that you could tell that are labors of love and are passion projects for people. And then the ones that are kind of like phoned in, or they're doing it just because that's what their overlords want, and it's not the game that they wanted to make, suffer for it. We see it all the time. But I would love to see that team come back and just be given like, hey, you know what? Let's see what you can do without with the safety rails pulled off. Go nuts. And I would absolutely love to see that because there are some really creative and really cool minds. Like Evokers, people and I don't think enough people talk about this. Evokers happened because of Heroes of the Storm. That was the healing kit that was given to my girl Ysera. Like, that was the Evoker kit. And people don't talk about that. or how many of Alex Strauss's abilities were precursors with the charge effects and the cones and the range and having that were precursor to Evoker effects. I don't think those would have happened if you hadn't got them in Heroes of the Storm and people flocked to them because they were new and different and fun. So I think that's a really cool thing that nobody talks about.
The love of Blizzard and how much Heroes of the Storm was willing to engage with all of the different universes and find what worked in them and pull it out and make it work in another game. And then those original universes were like, oh, hey, that's pretty cool. What's their name? Brightwing? Oh yeah, okay. We could make a fairy dragon pop up every once in a while named Brightwing.
Yeah.
And then you got Brightwing, and everyone was like, whoa, there's Brightwing. That's a cool fairy dragon.
Yeah, and Verdigris in chat. Yeah, no, it's one of those things that I don't think they ever really announced it, but go back and play those characters in Heroes of the Storm, and then go play an Evoker and tell me that that's not that they wasn't shared DNA. It just feels way too similar with your charge attacks and placing your heals and zooming through the battlefield and picking people up and moving them from one place to another. And there's just a lot of really fun stuff with that. But yeah, I would love to see what the creative minds could do with that, especially because there's no risk to just doing whatever, because it doesn't change Warcraft lore. It doesn't change what happened in StarCraft. It doesn't change what happens in Diablo. So many really fun and cool things that you could just do with it. But I'm going to stop talking about Heroes of the Storm because, man, I'm just going to sit here and talk about it for another 40 minutes with Corey. I really will.
Well, I mean, we've pretty much covered all the various things we want to talk about, except we didn't talk about the new Overwatch hero.
Hey, a new Overwatch
I was going
hero.
to say that's a thing. They announced a new Overwatch hero today, actually, before the podcast, which is unusual. They wait until the day after.
Yeah, they messed up and gave us a chance to say something about it. So we should probably not. Anyway, no, I'm kidding. Joe, do you know anything about Hazard? Because you play Overwatch more than I do.
I watched the announcement thing and the animation that was released for it, the hero trailer. He seems cool. His name is Hazard. He's a criminal, like so many of the other cool heroes, champions are. He looks like he shares DNA with various X-Men, to the same point of like he has an X in a blue and silver X on his jacket, because that's a thing that they did. I see you, Blizzard. I see you. And it looks like his abilities are based off of some goop that he steals and then jacks into his nervous system, a la Cyberpunk 2077. Because why not?
Why not?
I mean, he's Cable.
It gives him pink spike powers, I guess. I'm just watching the animations here and assuming.
Yeah, it gives him the ability to sort of like, looks like morph weapons or use his body as like a bioweapon or something like that. They haven't given too many specifics about it in his thing there, but yeah, it's very much Cable. Like, it reminds me of Cable and the Technovirus from the comic books.
Oh yeah, big time.
Big time.
I just look at him.
Yes, and that's why I was calling out the blue and silver X, because what color is Cable's X on his first appearances whenever he's with the X-Men? Blue and silver. Again, yeah. I see you.
he's sitting here with two eyes, but you know full well he's Cable. So I gotcha. I am interested in seeing how he plays, because I'm always interested in seeing how they play. It's one of the things I find the most fun about Overwatch characters is they have new ways to do things. He's supposed to be a tank character, so we'll see how that works out.
I'm going to be interested to see I'm interested to see his mobility. So I will say that I think Overwatch, for all of its faults, it does one thing really, really well, and that's mobility on tanks. Because they are very fast paced. They have a lot of different options. Each one of them locomotes differently and feels different, which is really, really cool. And it's not just a slow plodding march to the goal or to the point or in front of your team as they're all behind you. You can do that, but like you can also just be Reinhardt and rocket yourself into people, because it's just super fun to scream YOLO and just go for it and then take people off the ledge with you, because why not? Or to have tanks that, maybe rally people to them or have little ranged attacks or have little bits of heals that they can get out, or you're a wrecking ball and you literally are a wrecking ball.
Or you freeze people and then you turn into an ice block. Oh wait, that was May and Heroes of the Storm. He was a tank in that.
She was a tank in that game. She should be a tank in Overwatch. Anyway, but like they do cool things with this, so I'm really interested to see what his movement's going to feel like. And I will pop back in specifically to test that, because it is probably my favorite part of Overwatch. Hands down. So
we've gotten that covered, and now we're basically going to have Liz come up with something else. I'm trying to escape, Liz.
Tiny thing. You will be able to play Hazard this weekend, November 22nd to the 25th. If you want to check him out early, we do not have an actual release date, but I would assume soon-ish?
If they're
putting him up for people to play, then yeah.
I'll report back on Tuesday.
Okay.
So anyway, I do think we should mention really fast that the Game Awards, the nominees were announced this week. I read them, and it's not one of the years where I care particularly much about Game Awards. About the Game Awards.
I kind of feel the same way.
I did like seeing Diablo got itself a nice accessibility nom, because they did do good accessibility stuff.
It's very interesting that World of Warcraft, despite being amazing and firing on all cylinders and putting out 17 versions of Classic, has not made the list of best ongoing live service game, or whatever they're calling it these days.
Diablo 4 did.
Yeah.
I think that's probably why, because if they're giving it to Diablo 4, they don't want to give Blizzard 2 noms.
Yep, 100%. That's 100%. That's what it is.
I will also say that the Indie Game Awards looked a lot more interesting. Unfortunately, their website, the actual Indie Game Awards website, has some serious problems for accessibility. I could not read it. Like, I'm straight up staring at it going, oh God, I have to put my face on the screen to read these. Indie Game Awards, please, bigger text. So that's a problem, especially since there's accessibility noms in the Game Awards, and then you go to the Indie Game Awards, and there's no way to get in there. I also got to say, I did not see a poker roguelike coming.
Balatro making the Game of the Year awards. I didn't see that coming either, but there it is.
They made it both in the Game Awards and the Indie Game Awards. That thing was super popular. Okay, this says here Dragon Age Veilguard third impressions, but we took care of that.
No, that's not a thing.
We are going to move past that and save that for later.
We handled that in the pre-show, so you can go listen to the pre-show, or we'll do a lore watch when we all finish the game or something. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So at this point, I guess Liz and. Do you want Liz to do the Patreon thing again, or do you want to just do your outro, Joe?
We did it at the top of the hour, so I'm going to go ahead and do it because Blizzard Watch is made possible due to the generous contributions at patreon.com/BlizzardWatch. Your continued support means that this podcast site and community is able to thrive and grow. Blizzard Watch supporters enjoy exclusive benefits like early access to the podcast, better chance of having your question answered on our podcast through the queue, and ads free site experience.
And just as a quick reminder, we are doing another little pledge drive because, we're a little below where we want to be. So if you have not yet pledged, or if you've pledged, like say $1, and you feel like you can support more, which if you can't, totally cool. We're not crazy, but we do appreciate any support you can give us. So give that a look. It's is it patreon.com/BlizzardWatch, Joe and Liz?
Yes, that's correct.
All right.
And
go ahead.
We also do appreciate moral support. We are fueled by your love.
Well, I'm not, but
I need constant validation. I need constant validation.
I'm fueled by the ability to talk to you guys about weird stuff. It makes me super happy. So yeah. But anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you to Corey for guest starring and trying to get himself worked up into recurring character, which would be great. I want to get Corey and Phil into recurring character status, so then at the end, one can be revealed to be the secret traitor. That would be awesome. And it's going to be Corey, because nobody who knows Corey would think it would be him, because he's so nice.
I'm so nice.
Yeah, but secretly.
He's a Canadian.
That doesn't mean anything. There's evil up here.
Except, us Americans look at you Canadians and we're like, oh, they're just so friendly and nice.
And meanwhile, we're insulting you right to your faces.
It's also friendly and nice if people send us questions.
Yes, that would be nice. But I don't. This week we kind of was less looking.
So much news lately, but I expect as we get into the holidays, we're going to get less news.
Oh yeah,
and need more questions.
Yes,
or we're going to go off on crazy off-tangent rants for longer than usual.
And thus, I managed to turn this goodbye into a longer thing than I expected, which has been par for the course for this show. But now, guys, thank you very much for being here with us. This has been the Blizzard Watch Podcast, and we will see you next week.